Why are we so drawn to some people and instantly put off by others? Because of the way they look, the way they behave, maybe a mix of both? Attraction or attractiveness is one of my favorite topics to research about, and I love understanding the psychology behind it, which it turns out is quite complex. I have already made 2 videos on the subject, but today we are diving even deeper to understand what habits make you an attractive person, regardless of who you are and how you look and what you do. Pay attention to your looks, your fitness, dress for your body type, maintain basic grooming habits, all of the stuff that has to do with physically looking attractive. We've talked about the halo effect in a previous video. When you look good and put together, people associate other positive qualities with you. You signal a healthy, disciplined emotional state, and that automatically makes you more attractive. But you know what doesn't make you attractive? Being a smug know-it-all who thinks too much of themselves. Lack of humility is a very unattractive trait in a person. And unlike what some people will tell you, humility is not a scam. Being humble doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that you as a person are aware of your strengths and your limitations. Humility allows you to be sure of yourself, but at the same time be vulnerable. It allows you to be confident, but at the same time keep yourself open to learning. Psychologically, humble individuals create safer emotional environments, and people are infinitely drawn to this quality. People are more drawn to those who can be vulnerable, who listen more than they speak, and who approach life with genuine curiosity. You cannot be curious if you're not humble. And when you recognize your limitations while maintaining an open, curious approach to the world, you show people that abhi seekhne ko bahut kuch baki hai, and automatically you become a lot more likable and therefore a lot more attractive. Discipline is like a secret weapon for attractiveness. When you're disciplined, you project self-control and emotional stability. You signal that you can handle challenges with grace, with maturity, and that is a quality that creates a sense of security in people who are interacting with you. It showcases that you are reliable and dependable because disciplined people follow through on commitments. And so it makes you trustworthy. It is also a signal of ambition and drive. It showcases to people that you're capable of setting goals and working towards them, and this is a universally appealing quality. One other thing that makes discipline so attractive is that it showcases that you are a person who values and respects themselves. And this aura of purpose and of having control over yourself not only boosts your charisma, but it inspires people around you, making them want to associate with you, with somebody who uplifts and motivates them. Good conversation skills are next on the list of attractiveness because they're like a magnet that draw people towards you. They signal intelligence, confidence, and emotional awareness, traits that naturally captivate other people. When you can listen actively, ask thoughtful questions, share ideas effectively, it creates a sense of connection and makes people feel valued and understood. And because they feel that way in your presence, they are more drawn to you. Research in psychology shows that good conversationalists activate the mirror neurons in their listeners' brains. This means that when you truly engage in a conversation, you are not just talking. You are creating a neurological presence that makes people feel deeply understood and therefore more connected to you. Most compelling conversationalists or people who have good conversation skills are not people who speak the most, but those who create a space for meaningful dialogue. Now, something that you can do to achieve this is to become an active listener. Focus more on storytelling and hold space for other people to put across their point. I have already made a full video on improving your communication skills, so make sure you go check that out next. You cannot be a good conversationalist unless you know how to be present in a conversation when other people are speaking. Active listening makes people feel truly seen, truly heard, valued, instantly elevating your attractiveness. And the prime example of this in my life is my mom, who is such a great listener. I don't know one single person who has communicated with her and just not fallen in love with the way that she listens to you, listens to your problems, and they always want to come back and talk to her. Most of my friends are better friends of hers because she listens actively. Now, coming to the psychology behind it, this is also closely related to social validation because people crave acknowledgement and validation from others to make themselves feel good. When you actively listen, you give them this validation. You demonstrate empathy, attentiveness, and respect, something which everybody wants. And that creates a sense of trust and emotional safety in your interactions. It shows that you care about what other people have to say, making conversations more meaningful and memorable. Now, to cultivate this habit of active listening, try using the 3-second rule. This is a fun little experiment where you just wait 3 seconds after somebody finishes speaking before you respond. Most of the times when you're having conversation, we want to cut off the other person and start putting our point across. But if you follow this, it makes your conversations a lot more grounded, and it also gives the other person the impression that you have been listening. Now, financial stability does not just signify wealth. It actually signals security, responsibility, and long-term thinking. And these are qualities that people are inherently drawn to, thanks to something called the security principle. Now, when you are financially stable, it shows that you have the discipline to manage your resources, plan for the future, and navigate challenges effectively. Traits that people naturally admire and respect. This stability also conveys a sense of reliability and independence, and it reassures people that you are capable of handling life's ups and downs without being a burden on others. Self-control is the bridge between impulse and intentional action. It is one of the most underrated yet irresistibly attractive traits you can come across. When you can regulate your emotions and your impulses, it signals maturity and your ability to handle challenges with grace, which then creates a sense of security and trust in the people around you. Self-control also enhances your decision making. It allows you to prioritize long-term goals over instant gratification. Neurologically, this happens because self-control strengthens neural pathways in your prefrontal cortex, a part of the brain, and that enhances your ability to make better, detail-oriented decisions. Cultivating self-control, though, is a little bit difficult. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes practice. So start with small steps in managing your actions despite the emotion that you're feeling. For example, going to the gym even on days when you don't feel like it, or not being rude and lashing out even if somebody makes you really angry. The more you do this, the more you practice this restraint, the stronger those neural pathways become, and the easier it gets to have more self-control. Now, speaking of managing your emotions, that in itself is a very attractive quality in addition to self-control. Being able to regulate your emotions makes you stand out because it shows maturity and stability in you as a person. From a psychological perspective, this is tied to the concept of emotional intelligence. When you stay calm and composed in stressful situations, it signals that you are in control and you are not going to act impulsively. And so people feel safe and respected in your presence, because you are not easily reactive, and that makes you naturally more attractive. Now, if you're somebody who has their emotions all over the place, you are very reactive, you do things reactively, not proactively, try something called the pause technique. The next time you feel overwhelmed, take a deep breath and give yourself 5 seconds to process before you respond. This helps you articulate your thoughts a lot better. It helps give you more definitive responses, and that just allows you to bridge that distance between impulse and action. Another thing you can try is journaling your emotions every single day, and that helps you recognize your triggers, your patterns, and that makes it easier to stay composed over time. Like I said, takes time and patience. A good sense of humor is like a social magnet. It breaks the ice, lifts the mood, and makes you unforgettable. And this is because of the reward theory of attraction. People are drawn to those who make them feel good. And what better way to do that than with humor? Humor conveys confidence, intelligence, and emotional resilience. It shows that you don't take life too seriously. You can find joy even in challenging situations, which is an incredibly appealing trait. Nobody likes a whiny ninny. The more you can take life as it comes, the more you can make light of it, the more emotional maturity you essentially signal to other people. Humor also helps build deeper connections because shared laughter, laughing about same problems or laughing with each other creates bonds that make interaction a lot more memorable. Now, to cultivate a good sense of humor, to build on your sense of humor, I would suggest that you immerse yourself in different forms of comedy, expose yourself to different forms of comedy. Watch stand-up, read funny books, follow witty creators, pay attention to their timing, their delivery, how humor is used to connect with others rather than at their expense. Now, we as a culture, like the Indian culture, I think is really big on comedy right now. We are exposed to a lot of stand-up comedy, which is why when you look at comments, for example, on social media, when you look at how people interact with each other, there's a lot of humor present there. But a lot of what I see is humor at other people's expense or humor at the expense of the person in front of you. And while that might seem funny in the moment, in the long term, that doesn't foster connections. And also in the long term, humor at the expense of other people can decrease your attractiveness. So what you need to do is find common ground and make jokes about that essentially, and find humorous ways to connect with each other rather than at other people's expense. And most importantly, learn to laugh at yourself. It shows humility. It makes you even more relatable and charming. I know that a lot of people don't talk about it, but consistent behavior or showing up consistently as this person who reacts in a certain way, being predictable, honestly, is a trust-building superpower. It reassures other people that you're dependable, that you're authentic, and someone that they can rely on in any situation. When we look at it from a psychological perspective, it ties into the concept of cognitive ease, where people feel more comfortable with things that they can predict. Nobody likes erratic behavior, even if Bollywood movies or movies in general make you think like the bad boy vibe is something that women prefer, or the bad girl vibe is something that men prefer. In healthy long-term relationships, in healthy long-term friendships, in situations where it actually matters, nobody likes erratic behavior because it makes people feel unsettled or suspicious, and nobody wants to live in that state constantly. That is why when you show consistency in your behavior, you build trust, you create a sense of deeper attractiveness, you create a sense of safety that people are attracted towards. Now, if you are somebody who is not in this zone or nowhere close to this zone of having consistent traits, consistent behaviors, start by aligning your actions with your words. If you say something, follow up on it. Whether you say something to yourself, whether you say something to other people, make it a point to fulfill the promises that you make. So for example, if you say that I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow, go to the gym tomorrow. If you tell a friend that I'm going to show up at 1 p.m. for lunch, show up at 1 p.m. Make showing up or fulfilling the promises that you make a non-negotiable. Because small, predictable changes like this can also leave a huge impact on not just you, but also on other people, thus making you a lot more attractive. A sincere compliment is like a gift that leaves a lasting impression. It instantly makes you more likable, more attractive. And when you genuinely compliment others, it shows that you're observant, that you're kind, that you're confident enough to lift others up without feeling threatened by them. This ties back to the principle of reciprocity in psychology. Whenever you make somebody feel good about themselves, they're more likely to think positive about you in return. But this is not why you give compliments. I am talking about this in this way to make you more aware. But when you give compliments, it should come from the heart, it should be sincere, it should not be so that the other person will like you. Because compliments create a positive emotional connection. They make people feel valued, appreciated, and fosters trust and admiration. And it's a very, very simple habit to build. If you are not somebody who does this already, there are two things you need to do. One is you need to start noticing specific genuine qualities, actions, things about the people you interact with. Take 5 seconds, 10 seconds before you start speaking to just notice something nice about this person in front of you. And second, you need to get over yourself, over your lag of interaction, and take that leap of faith and go ahead and compliment that person. Don't hold back because you think it's going to be awkward. When you start practicing this consistently, it will not only make other people happy, it will make you a happier person as well, because it will make you somebody that others enjoy being around. My mom is the perfect example of this. She never misses an opportunity to compliment someone, and that's a trait that I have picked up in my life, and I absolutely love it when people have that bright white smile when you compliment them and they're just grateful. It's a beautiful feeling, honestly. This is a conversational superpower. And since being a good conversationalist is already a super attractive quality, this only adds to that. It makes you magnetic in any social setting. It draws people to you because of your depth of knowledge and perspective. Not even knowledge, more so perspective. The more well-read you are, the more perspective you have on life, the less rigid you are, and the more open to learning and the more curious you are. There's a paper on the prestige effect in psychology that says staying informed shows curiosity on your end. It shows a love for learning, and both of these are incredibly attractive qualities. When you're informed, you can actually engage in meaningful dialogue rather than standing like a log in a social event. You can discuss scenarios, share insights, and confidently express your opinions, and that makes you come across as an intelligent and curious person. And these qualities are universally admired. Now, building this habit again is very easy. All you need to do is cultivate a habit of reading. So commit to reading or listening to something new every single day, whether it's an article, a book, a podcast, an informational video, whatever it is, whatever works for you. Start doing that, and it can change the game for you. Standing up for others is like wearing a badge of courage on your shoulders. It signals strength, empathy, integrity. It makes you a lot more attractive because when you defend someone, when you stand up for someone in need, whether it's against unfair treatment or whether you simply support them in difficult situations, it shows that you value justice, that you care about others beyond yourself, that you're not a self-absorbed prick. It's an act of selflessness, and that builds trust and admiration in the people around you, because people are drawn to other people who are brave enough to take a stand. Now, when I talk about taking a stand or standing up for others, I'm not saying that you should always become a savior, but the focus here is more on demonstrating an understanding of the social dynamics that you're in. It's a way of signaling personal integrity towards others. It's a way of putting other people's needs in front of you when the situation arises. Now, this habit in itself communicates multiple layers of attractive qualities. It shows emotional maturity, ability to manage potential social conflict, and a commitment to values that extend beyond personal comfort. Now, to cultivate this quality, you need to start by being attentive to the struggles of those around you. This can mean being aware of whatever situation is happening around you, socially, politically, culturally, and developing opinions in those areas, and also having the confidence to speak up even when it's uncomfortable. Now, in simple words, a confident body language is attractive because it communicates self-assurance non-verbally. Statistically speaking, 55% of how you communicate is through your body language. And it is deeply tied to the mirror neuron effect, where people subconsciously mimic and respond to the energy that you're projecting. Good, confident body language signals approachability, strength from your side. It further gives you an upper hand in communication as opposed to just being a good conversationalist, right? So this ties in very, very closely with good conversation skills. Now, to improve your body language, start by paying attention to your posture and maintaining eye contact when you are speaking, smile when you're interacting with others, and just this simple switch can make a world of a difference. There's a very popular saying that you are a sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This means that your social circle has a huge impact on your level of attractiveness. This gets tied to the associative attraction effect, which says that people judge you based on your social connections. Your social connections also act as social proof for others. They signal to other people what to think of you. So being surrounded by positive, inspiring, and accomplished people signals that you value meaningful connections, that you have an enriched life, you have quality relationships. But if you're surrounded by douchebags, you attract other douchebags, and it signals to others that you are also a douchebag. That is why it is very, 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 very important to be mindful of who are the people in your social circle. And this is something that you need to start doing today. It starts with social media. Cut out people who are negative, who influence you negatively, who influence your thought process negatively. And similarly, within your physical social circle, you need to start interacting more with people who have a positive influence on your life, who are ambitious, driven, confident, growing, and distance yourself from people who are the opposite of these qualities. When you start surrounding yourself with uplifting people, it automatically elevates your energy, your charm, the way that you think about yourself, your life, and that translates into your body language, in the way that you speak, in the way that you conduct yourself. And of course, all of that impacts your attractiveness. Now, I don't know about you guys, but one quality that I am most put off by in people is their inability to make a decision and then always relying on others to pick up the slack. I didn't know it earlier, but the reason that indecisiveness is an off-putting trait or a habit is because it signals lack of clarity, confidence, and a sense of purpose. So naturally, decisiveness is the complete opposite of this. The reason that we are drawn to decisive people is because of something called the certainty effect. This is when people naturally gravitate towards those who can make decisions quickly and stick to them, thus making others feel secure, valued, because they don't have to second guess your choices or question your direction. Decisiveness also suggests that you trust yourself and you have some ability to take calculated risk. This makes you more trustworthy in the eyes of others, and that makes you more attractive. To cultivate decisiveness or to build this habit of decisiveness, you need to start by clarifying your values and your priorities, and these act as your guiding principles in life for any choice that you're making. And then when you are actually making your choices or making decisions, practice limiting overthinking. Give yourself a 5-minute or a 10-minute rule where that is the time constraint that you have on making a particular decision. And then you have to trust your instinct once that time is up and once you've gathered enough information. And that actually simplifies your decision making a lot, making it easier for you to take decisions as opposed to just not being decisive at all. The more you practice this, even with small decisions in everyday life, the stronger this instinct becomes. Another thing to keep in mind is that even if you have calculated all the risk in the world, no choice is perfect. You make a decision and then you work around with the consequences. Yes, calculated risk is important, but it is not meant to stop you from ever taking decisions. So that's an important point to keep in mind. If you always show up on time, it's a silent yet powerful way of saying, I value your time and energy. Punctuality is an unspoken promise. It communicates respect, reliability, and self-discipline, making you instantly more attractive. Now, from a psychological perspective, punctuality is associated with conscientiousness, which is one of the big 5 personality traits that reflect dependability, organization, and attention to detail. When you are punctual, it shows that you value other people's time, their commitments. It helps foster an environment of trust and respect, both in personal and in professional relationships. It also shows that you're an emotionally stable person, that you're responsible. And these are traits that people naturally admire and feel secure around. Now, building this habit of punctuality will take a little bit of effort on your time. If you're not a punctual person, it means that you make these promises of showing up on time and then you deliver on those promises. And that actually requires you to learn to respect time, both your time and other people's time. No method in the world is going to work if you don't fundamentally have respect for other people's time. They say that if you really want to know who your true friends are, see how they react when you share good news. And if they're not really happy, they're not genuinely your friends. There's a reason for this saying. From an evolutionary perspective, we have had to compete for survival. We have had to compete with nature, with the wild, with other tribes, with other humans. And this competitiveness makes us feel emotions like jealousy, anger, frustration when we see somebody doing better than us. And it is for this reason exactly that when somebody feels happy for us, we are drawn to that person because we no longer see them as competition, but as an ally. Now, this behavior, which is being happy for others, stems from high emotional intelligence. It reflects a mindset of abundance. And that mindset reassures people around you that you are not competing with them, but you are rooting for their growth, that you are in this together and not against each other. Studies in positive psychology suggest that those who practice joy for others, it's a concept called sympathetic joy, and It also has roots in Buddhist philosophy called mudita. This exudes positivity, it builds stronger relationships, and as a result, you are perceived as more emotionally mature and compassionate. This habit is also linked to the concept of emotional contagion, which states that people feel the emotion that others around them radiate. So if you feel happy for others, you radiate that happiness and others also feel happy as a result. Now, building this habit is more of a mindset game. So the next time that somebody shares good news, resist the urge to compare yourself with them, but instead focus on the positives of the situation and try and participate in other people's joy instead of standing in a corner and sulking. Now tell me, what is the most irritating thing about relatives? That they will not let you live in peace, they will be pushy, they will push their own agenda, and they will not respect your boundaries. And that is exactly why you don't really want to hang out with them. Not being able to respect and uphold boundaries is quite an unattractive trait because it shows lack of emotional maturity on your end and it shows lack of impulse control. But respecting other people's boundaries is like drawing a map of mutual respect. It is linked to reciprocal respect, which shows that you value both your own well-being and the autonomy of others. And that is a trait that makes you deeply, deeply attractive, my friend. When you respect boundaries, it signals emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, empathy, and that creates an environment where people feel safe, they feel valued in your presence. I have already spoken about building boundaries, upholding boundaries in several videos in the past. So in this video, I'm just going to touch upon what you can do right now. And that is to start identifying your own limits, what you can and cannot tolerate, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. And then you need to practice communicating those limits clearly. Just start by saying no more often to things that you don't want to do. And that starts to build resilience in you. Now, if you have stayed up until this part of the video, then this point needs no further introduction. Patience comes from a very deep sense of self-control, which is an incredibly attractive quality. I know that I'm so attracted to patient people because this is a quality that I often see lacking in myself. So yeah. Now, patience is heavily tied to the concept of delayed gratification. Now, people who demonstrate patience are often seen as more mature. They're more capable of handling life's ups and downs. It also makes other people feel comfortable because they know that they won't be rushed or judged in the presence of a patient person. I mean, just look at you guys. You could have skipped the video, but you chose not to. You patiently watched the entire thing, point after point, and this clearly shows that you are ready to pivot to your best self, and you've already started taking the steps towards it. But in addition to watching this video, there's something else that I want you to do. Suppose that you are stuck in a long queue or a line, right? And are resisting the urge to complain or scroll endlessly on your phone. What would you do in this case? Comment below and let me know, how would you tackle a situation like this? How would your patient self come out? And I want you guys to remember that habits are not about being perfect. I wanted to make this video to bring awareness to what are the traits that humans in general are attracted to, that we find attractive. And the sooner that you start to build on these habits, it not only makes you attractive, it actually makes you a good person. These habits are about enhancing your natural qualities. They're about being authentically, weirdly, wonderfully you. And that is the sentiment that I want to leave you guys with. Make sure you check out this video next because YouTube says that you're gonna love it. And I'm gonna see you guys very, very soon in another one. Bye.